every day I'm like, ugh. You know, so, you know, it's like, and I say the same thing. I'm like, you're lucky, you're so wonderful in all the other ways.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole journey through figuring out what is wrong with him
Sure.
and all that sort of other stuff. And, you know, I just kept saying, it's a good thing you're cute because nobody else would put up with your shenanigans, your mouth.
Yeah. But, you know, like, normally there is a reason, I have to say. Like, it's very rare that horses develop those kinds of behaviors without a reason.
Yeah.
You know? I just really believe this. This looks quite nice. How does this feel? Other than being really quiet, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing all the work.
Well, don't do that. The end, right? So if you feel like, so here's what I'll say. Just don't be willing to work that hard, right? He has to be putting in at least as much effort in as you, and really should be putting in a lot more effort than you, right? So, you know, I'm really a like make him in front of the leg girl, right? So he could use himself. He's a nice big horse, and he has kind of a short, choppy stride, right? So he doesn't look like he's using himself at all, right? He's not really actively reaching up underneath himself and pushing off in front, and he's not really reaching out with his shoulders through his withers, right? He's just kind of motoring along in a mechanical kind of like his legs are moving his body over the ground, not his muscles. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's not a complaint. It's just, you know, like these are the things that we want to try to improve about him because he is a really big, beautiful horse, and he probably really has some good ability to be a very impressive mover. But, you know, like with anything, if you go and you're going to work out at the gym, you're never going to give yourself as good a workout as if you have a personal trainer there standing there saying, okay, come on, like you can give me 5 more, give me 5 more, give me 5 more pounds of weight, give me 5 more reps, like whatever, right? You can do it. So it's the same, and so that's how we have to think about it with the horse. We can't just be like, do it now, damn it, right? Because then they're not going to want to work for us. But you have to be like their coach, and you have to be like, okay, come on, give me a little bit more. I'm working harder than you. That shouldn't be happening, right? So you have to be a little bit less willing to work so hard. And in order to work less hard, you have to become a more effective communicator. Does that make sense? So for me, if you're using a lot of leg to keep him going all the time, yeah, then you need to not be willing to do that. And so you need to take your leg away and then use it and release it. And if he doesn't respond, give him a good size correction that really makes your point that he needs to go forward. And obviously don't get bucked off or anything, but he's got to get the point that your leg means go. It doesn't mean don't quit. Does that make sense? Or don't stop. So I want you to do that. I want you to take your legs away. I'm sure he's going to slow down right away. And then use your leg once, squeeze, release. And now get after him a little and make him go forward. Come. As much as you feel comfortable. But it's got to be like enough of a correction that he would prefer you not do it again, right? There has to be a little bit more incentive than he just gets to like jog around again, right? He's got to work a little bit from the correction so that there's incentive for him to answer you the first time. Does that make sense? And then you have to not put your leg on every stride, right? You have to take your leg away, let him trot around for a second. If he starts slowing down, one squeeze release, and if he doesn't go forward from your squeeze release, give him a correction. So that you start to train him that your leg doesn't mean the absence of quitting, which is not a tangible thing. Your leg means go more forward in whatever it is you're doing, right? It should work the same in the walk, in the trot, and the canter. If you're already cantering and you put your leg on, off, he should give you more canter. If you're walking and you put your leg on, off, he should give you more walk, right? Good. This is better. And then across your diagonal. Don't work so hard. Just let him cruise, self-propelled. And then one squeeze release. Come. Come. Yeah, exactly. Pat him and then give him a big praise when he gives you a good answer, okay? And then no leg, 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 release, and go. Come. Come. Yeah, pat him. Good boy. And then no leg, right? So you have to really pay attention that you're not inadvertently continuing to nudge him in between. The only way to make it fair to kind of get after him like this when he doesn't respond is to make sure that you're not using your leg and not getting a response for it to begin with, right? Does that make sense? Does this feel a little bit better? Are you working a little less hard? Good. So this is how you should really start out every day. Like, hey, when you feel my squeeze release, I want more. And if you can't give me more in whatever gait I'm doing, so say you're trotting and you squeeze release and he's like already giving you as much as he can give you in the trot, then he should break to the canter and give you more in the canter, right? And I will say that, like, if you're walking and he breaks to the trot, he needs to go forward in the trot. In other words, breaking to the trot and like jigging and going slow in the trot does not equal going forward in the walk. And the same thing, so if you push him forward in the trot and he breaks the canter, then he needs to go forward in the canter, right? Breaking to the canter and going slow at the canter is not equal to going forward in the trot. This is lovely. How does that feel? Good. Okay, so then praise him and give him a little walk break. Because really, when you feel that he wants to kind of dive and be a little bit strong and all these things, it's because he's just not using his hind end enough, right? So like even there, you reach back and tapped him and he didn't change, right? Get more for your tap. If you tap him, I would make him go. Like sit up and go forward. So that he learns it's not okay to just feel an aid or a request or a correction or anything. It's not okay to feel that and have no response, right? This is really important. And it takes a lot more discipline from the rider to say, okay, I'm going to make sure that every time I put my leg on, I hold him accountable. It's holding yourself accountable too, that you're not inadvertently giving him a little nudge here and there, that he's not really going more forward for, but maybe he's not quitting. That conversation has to end, right? It's so funny, people, I see, like, as a whole, as a group, I feel like people are so much more willing to work hard than I am. And I don't know if it's just, I mean, I ride sometimes, I would say I ride like 10 to 14 horses a day. And I see people just like working and working and working to keep the horse sharp. And I'm like, if I worked that hard, I would be on every horse, like I would be a lot skinnier than I am, right? Like it's too much, it would be exhausting, right? So, you know, you really have to think of it in these terms. Like he's a big giant animal with big giant muscle groups, right? And he's built to move over the ground, and you're just like a little tiny human. If he's not working at least as hard as you are, then you have to change the conversation. You have to just make him more accountable to it. And you don't have to be mean about it, you just have to be clear. Right? This is what I expect. When you feel my leg, I want you to do something. And that, it might not be the right thing. It might, you know, his head might come up, he might go shooting off, or he might go sideways, or whatever. But he has to do something, right? It can't be, I always want to think about it that I get like a +1 for my leg. Does that make sense? Like when you use your leg in a maintaining leg, you're getting 0 for your leg. Like it's not adding a positive result. You're just getting the absence of quitting, which is not a tangible thing. You're getting 0. You're just staying the same, right? You always want to think that you get a +1 for your aid, like that you get something more than what you have every single time you ask, that he gives you more. This is great. These are good responses here. And they're not dumb. If the correction makes them work a little bit harder than they really would have had to work had they just listened to the initial aid to begin with, they're going to start, if you can be consistent about that, they start to learn, well, if I just do the thing, which isn't actually that hard that she's asking me to do, then I don't have to do the thing that makes me work even harder, right? But you have to be consistent in teaching them that process. By making it consistent every time he doesn't go, you have to give him a correction so that he starts to learn and depend on when he's going to get that correction, right? So that he starts to know exactly when he's going to get that correction because he knows he didn't listen to the initial aid. Does that make sense? And on a basic level, are you familiar with Pavlov's dogs? So like on a basic level, it blows my mind that more people don't talk about this, because I've been thinking of training in this way for many, many years, and it's surprising to me that like more people don't bring it up as part of a discussion about training horses, because on a basic level, it's exactly what we're doing day in and day out, right? We are conditioning responses in the horse, right? And so whatever you come out here and you repeat and correct and repeat and praise day after day after day is what they learn. And the reason that it takes so many people so long to create a result that they want in the horse is because most people come out and they're on their horse for maybe 45 minutes, but 10 of those minutes they're walking around with their friend and having a conversation. They're not really paying attention that they're nudging the horse along, or that they're playing with the bit or whatever, they're getting crooked. And then maybe 10 or 15 of those minutes they're listening to what their instructor is saying, and they're thinking about what they're going to make for dinner or whatever. They're just not focused. And then maybe 20 minutes of that ride, they're really paying attention to what they want and they're focused, right? And then maybe 10 minutes of that ride, they're getting a little bit unfocused in that they ask for a canter and the horse throws their head up, so then they start talking about the contact, and then they get back to the canter and it's just not focused work. So you're really taking 2 steps forward and 2 steps back, right? And maybe having like this little tiny incremental progress. But if you can come out and you can ride for 15 minutes, you can make every single one of those minutes exactly how you want it, with correction and praise and repetition, the horse learns so much faster, right? And so on a basic level, you want to think it's no different. You put your leg on, you get the result for it. If you don't get the result for it, you give them a correction. If you do get the result, you give them a praise. And it's conditioning that response so that it gets to the point in the horse's body that you apply that aid and they don't even have to think about it. They just respond because it's conditioned. Does that make sense? So this is how you want to think about your leg aids all the time. All right. Shall we see a little canter? Do you think I could see a little canter? Okay. Same rules apply, right? So, you have to have a motor, you have to have an engine to start to teach him to use his body a little bit better, to come over his back, to lift up through his withers, all those things. And he's quite willing, so that's good. No, it's okay. So go forward in the trot first. Yeah, I wouldn't allow that if it were me, but that's a personal choice.
Thank you.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so just go trot forward. Just go trot forward. Right, get your nice, big, beautiful, rolling trot first, because he's just had a long walk, so you want to be fair, yeah? Yep, keep riding the channel. Nice, big, forward trot. And I want you to go, and I want you to make him so forward in the trot that he breaks over and rolls into the canter. Does that make sense? Ugh. After he's done clearing his little throat. Good, and you can do that on a circle if you wish. Whatever feels right. But I just want you to hold him in the canter, or in the trot, longer than you probably would normally, so that he's asking you to break to the canter. Does that make sense? Yeah. Hold him a little bit in the trot and say, no bigger in the trot, no bigger in the trot, no bigger in the trot. Keep the left side. Yeah. He's going to let go in his back in order to come over his back into the canter. This is okay. No problem. That's fine. Yeah, praise him for that obedience, but I still want you to be able to push him more forward in the trot. You can change direction. Little counter flexion there. Yep. Yep, doesn't matter. So trot, and I want you to do a serpentine. Ah! Is that normal?
He hasn't done that in a while, but yes.
He hasn't done that in years.
Huh?